What do you read, my lord?
Words. Words. Words.
Hyper-kinetic, captivating, combative. Every single second of Kenneth Branagh's Hamlet held me in its palm. One of the more fascinating elements of this film is how Branagh's combative composition directly conflicts with the play's themes of inaction and self-obsessed irresolution. Branagh's direction is always present, available, balanced between mania and virtue. A captivating take. One of the most impassioned films of the 90s, often masterfully composed, acted with both frenzy and deathly focus. Branagh balances self-obsession with morbid, private dispossession. It's very, very curious and very, very ambitious. This is the uncut play of Hamlet. And Hamlet was never supposed to be uncut. Even in 1600, when Shakespeare wrote this play, he knew it would be, trimmed down by the players and the groups that would put it on, that would perform it. But there's something really fascinating about watching it uncut. This film is over 4 hours long. And let me tell you, it's absolutely enthralling for every single second of that enormous length. It must be so difficult to balance your film for 4 hours. To balance a film with the kind of complex themes, the kind of sophistications that Hamlet demands of you, the kind of acting acrobatics, the kind of visual acrobatics that this film asks is incredible. Branagh, his direction was so fucking good. It was as good as it could have possibly been. It was actually better. No other filmmaker could have pulled this off. Because a film, especially something as melodramatic as Shakespeare, as a Shakespearean adaptation, any film like that, is going to be incredibly difficult to balance for any given amount of time, and doing it for 4 hours. Do you understand the sublime symmetry that Branagh had to work with? Do you understand the kind of innovation, the kind of moving camera, the kind of dynamic, always available camera that he had to make sure was always a character in every single sequence? These scenes are alive, poetically choreographed to every last meticulous beat. The camera is so fucking expressive, so emotive. The camera strikes me down like lightning. The colors, the opulence, the drama, the brilliance of Kenneth Branagh as a filmmaker, as a visual artist, is something I really was not prepared for. That's so fascinating about Hamlet, because I love Laurence Olivier's version. It's one of my 10 favorite films of all time. And Branagh's does not come close to Olivier's. Olivier's was far more life-changing. Apologies, but speechless still over Olivier. But what's so fascinating about Hamlet is that it attracts very specific people, and they are actors. They are obsessed actors. You might even call them romantic, damaged egotists who can't help but smolder. People like Laurence Olivier, Kenneth Branagh, Derek Jacobi, John Gielgud, they are very peculiar kinds of massively talented men. And Hamlet attracts people like Olivier and like Branagh to the material, and they take it upon themselves as well to express it visually, to capture it, to tell it in a new format. what about this character absorbs these two people so much, or absorbs just the actors who play them so deeply, so completely? Kenneth Branagh perfectly captures every single filmic style, every single powerful aesthetic of the cinema, and makes of Hamlet the most powerful and impactful landscapes that movies have ever encountered. It's one of the most incredibly enthralling experiences I've ever had with a movie. Kenneth Branagh's interpretation of Hamlet is aggressive, combative, like I said earlier, abrasive, and absolutely philosophically warlike in his speech and performance of soliloquy. Kenneth Branagh is a fucking genius, wow, because the composition directly reflects this as well. It's a constant, moving, gripping juxtaposition between the visual elements, the visual components of the story, and the themes inherent in the play. So while this is a play about irresolution, the tragedy of a man who could not make up his mind, the camera is focused. The camera is deliberate. The camera is the decider. And it's fascinatingly balanced, like I said, between mania and virtue, as are all the performances and all of the different components of its beautiful technical composition and sound design. Holy shit. The sound design also is also obsessed with expressing this rhythmic juxtaposition, this lyricality, this dynamic interplay between filmic expression and archetypal truths. And yeah, I shouldn't beat around the bush any longer. The cast, whoa, holy fuck, man. So, I mean, you got Billy Crystal, who completely shocked me. He was so good as the gravedigger. Kenneth Branagh. Why did I say Billy Crystal first? Because I've already been speaking about Branagh. Of course, this is Kenneth Branagh's vehicle. And I'll ring around back to him in a second. Kate Winslet is one of my ultimate screen crushes. You may have heard me crush on several women on this channel before, but you haven't heard me cover Kate Winslet yet, and I will spare you the thirstiness. I'm just obsessed with her body and everything about her. She's fucking so hot. And I don't want to limit her talent because in this film, oh my, she's incredible. She's an incredibly good Ophelia. A truly inspired performance. Her decisions are incredibly vulnerable, and then when she starts to lose her mind, Branagh films this horrifyingly. It takes on gothic tones, and Kate Winslet completely demonstrates that kind of horror, that kind of beautiful virginal horror in very fascinating ways, very emotive ways, that the pathos that is exuded from both Branagh and Winslet is just so unique and probably the most palpable of any 90s performance ever. Robin Williams was very, very entertaining for his short bit. Derek Jacobi, holy fuck. What's fascinating about him is that he played Hamlet earlier in his life, and he, what's that old adage? You either die the hero or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain. He went from playing the Prince of Denmark to his incestuous, awful, murderous, horny, despicable uncle. He has played both the protagonist and antagonist of that play, and he was extraordinary, of course, but I'm not saying anything I'm not saying anything new there. Derek Jacobi is known as one of the finest Shakespearean actors of all time, and it's for good reason, because he certainly was. Gerard Depardieu, I loved his cameo. Thought it was really nice. I thought he did Oblivious very well. I was really taken aback by it. And Rufus Sewell had a very brief amount of screen time, but I thought his image was completely captivating. One of those just perfectly captivating images. Just wonderful. And Jack Lemmon's always great to see. Branagh, though. It's really interesting because this is a love letter to a love letter. Branagh spent most of his acting career obsessed with this role. He had played it so many different times for like 15 years before he made this film, and this was his final take on Hamlet. This was his love letter to the material, and I see it as also his love letter to performance. His love letter to acting. His love letter to drama. His love letter, his gushing love letter to tragedy. And this actually makes Kenneth Branagh the most significant tragedian of the 90s. This is such an important film, and it's such a remarkable film. And it's so remarkably cinematic, and that's kind of what is so pulverizing to me about it. Because Branagh didn't just place his camera in the scene and just capture the performance. No, the camera was constantly on the move. The camera was constantly trying to express something conceptual. It's stunning. It's fucking great. It's just fucking nearly flawless. And you know how huge of a compliment that is for a film of this length? The longer your film is, the more opportunities your film has to air. Branagh was so focused, so obsessed, so in love with this play, with this work, with the idea of making this film, with the arduous, incredible undertaking of capturing this experience, that his film never faltered. That his film was inspired from beginning to end. His film was life-changing from beginning to end. One of the most fascinating experiences of my life. Most definitely. This material in the hands of certain actors, I don't want to see a Hamlet directed by someone who isn't playing the Prince of Denmark himself. There'd be something rotten in that. It's nearly postmodern, what I'm going to say. The self-obsession, inherent, huge, overwhelmingly, the Prince of Denmark's most fatal, most curious, and loudest characteristic is his self-obsession, is his morbid self-obsession. And it manifests itself in suicidal soliloquy and rhyme speech pentameter. Self-obsession. You need an actor who is obsessed with not only himself, but with the world in which he is trying to cultivate, create, express, and capture. You need that damaged romantic egotist who can't help but smolder. You need that in order for this film. In order to make this material transcend, you need that kind of thing. I'm sorry, I'm just floored once again. Kenneth Branagh fucking floored me. And I really was surprised. What a remarkable filmmaker. What an invaluable artist. What an important figure. What a fucking brilliant movie. I want to watch it again, and it was over 4 hours. I want to study it for its compositional values. The composition and the way that the composition interacts and builds a relationship with the performances on screen. I don't think anyone's ever done that better. Branagh had a vision. He had a vision of mastery. And you know what? He accomplished it. Kenneth Branagh's Hamlet is a most masterful film. And Kenneth Branagh's Hamlet will never die. Branagh's Hamlet is a universe unto itself. I want to get lost in Branagh's worlds of self-destructive glee, mania, virtue, and tragedy. I want to live there. I want to better myself. I want to know that I'm very much like the Prince of Denmark, but especially Branagh's interpretation. Because I'm loud, I'm manic, I think I'm really funny, I think I'm a fucking absurdist, I think that I'm smarter than everyone else too, but I think I have these demons that no one else can pick up on. I think I'm so fucking special because of these stupid thoughts that I have. I think that no one else has them, or at least no one else has them with the ability to articulate them like me, or no one else has them and can see the raw complexities or sophistications of those kinds of suicidal or negative thoughts like I can. I am that damaged romantic egotist, and I'm smoldering. So when I watch Branagh's interpretation of this character, I see myself quite a bit, like all the fucking time, and it's crazy. I see myself in every pathetic and every virtuous thing he attempts to do or does do. Kenneth Branagh's Hamlet looked into my soul, looked into me, and taught me some incredible lessons that I'm never going to forget, because I need to change. I need to learn to make up my mind. And I need to learn to be considerate about that too, and not be aggressive, and not seem frenzied, not seem mad. I need to take action. I need resolution, because I could be absorbed in this mania for the rest of my life, this kind of like crazy, overwrought, overthought mania for the rest of my life. But that will only lead to one place, and it is a beautiful place. It is a great, visual, colorful, epic world. But it's death. To be or not to be, I suppose that will always be the question.